Viewer discretion is advised.
Boom, perfect timing.
Andru Martin was found sleeping in his vehicle in a parking lot. There were no signs of illegal activity, no evidence that he was under the influence or had committed a crime. Corporal Kenny Bennett was the first officer to approach Mr. Martin's vehicle. He observed Mr. Martin in a groggy state and initially made contact to determine if there was any immediate health concern.
How you doing? Not bad. You okay?
Yeah, you?
Not bad. So, what's going on? You sitting in your truck? Okay.
After some brief conversation, where Mr. Martin claimed to be fine and just resting, Corporal Bennett continued questioning Mr. Martin about his whereabouts and reason for stopping in the parking lot. Corporal Bennett then states that he was investigating a possible crime due to Mr. Martin's behavior and the position of his vehicle, which Corporal Bennett claimed was partially obstructing the roadway.
Okay, what are you doing here? What are you doing in Pryor? What brings you here? Where are you headed? North? Okay. You know anybody in Pryor, or you just happen to? Well, I mean, you're kind of pulled off here in this parking lot a little bit weird. You're a little bit in the roadway. So somebody called in on you. Is there a crime?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, standing in the roadway.
Standing in the roadway?
That's what the technical term is for it.
While Mr. Martin explained that he was merely resting, Corporal Bennett moved forward with investigating potential intoxication, despite having no evidence of such and no reason to believe Mr. Martin was impaired. Mr. Martin continued to ask why he was being questioned and asserted that he hadn't committed any crime, but Corporal Bennett maintained that his actions could lead to charges of obstruction or loitering. In 2025, I sat down with Andru Martin to talk about his ordeal with the Pryor Police Department, and what he revealed was nothing short of shocking. The corruption and misconduct he described were so egregious that I've included a major portion of our interview in this video, so you can hear directly from Mr. Martin himself. This video is quite lengthy, but I promise you, there's a wealth of information here that could potentially help someone facing a situation similar to Mr. Martin's. And I need to make this very clear. Andru Martin was acquitted of all charges in this case. Yet during our interview, he reveals that even though it has been over a year since the dismissal of his unlawful arrest case, his CDL driver's license is still suspended and revoked, a punishment that continues to impact his livelihood to this day. For those of you who want to help Andru Martin fight to get his CDL license back, I've provided links and contact information in the description of this video. One last thing, this video is divided into chapters with timestamps in the description below, so you can easily jump to the parts you're most interested in. With all of that said, let's get started.
Hi, and thanks for having me on. My name's Andru Martin. Live in Pryor, Oklahoma. Run a store called Biddy Bang's New and Not Variety Shop. Was in Pryor. We're now located in Salina, Oklahoma, about 10 miles away. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, well, and first of all, thank you for your edit on that. That was pretty cool, man. I had no idea it had happened until I started finding out way after the fact and getting the messages, and it's cool. Thank you and people like you that do that stuff, man. I don't know what people do in these situations when they don't have that kind of exposure, because that is the real driving factor behind me being able to get anything as far as having this corrected. This has been a huge impact on my life, my business, my family, my marriage. But anyway, I was like I said, I run this store by myself. I'm the janitor, the truck driver, the cashier, and stock boy, and everything else. We'd been going about 6 or 7 months at that point. I had just hired a helper in the store, and this guy was he was motivated. He was very sure of himself, right? I trained him up a little bit for a couple of days, and he wanted me to let him operate everything by himself. He wanted me to go off and do this and do that, which had been a problem for me at the time. It was hard for me to get my merchandise to the store with the hours I was working. And so he knew that, and he knew what I wanted to do and what the direction of the business was. And so he's pushing me, boss, I got it. So I decided, it's been how many months since I've even been home during the daylight, let alone for lunch with my wife who works from home. And so I decided I'm going to go surprise the wife and we'll have lunch together, And so I get up to this main road. It's Elliott Street in Pryor. I was going to turn right to go toward my house, and across the road, there's this gentleman carrying a big dresser out and setting it on the edge of the road, which for the type of store we are, that's kind of the bread and butter. I mean, a nice dresser is going to be gone by the end of the day if the price is right, So I pull across there, and he's walking back into the house and say, hey, what's up with the dresser? He said, it's yours, man. Take it. We're moving. And, so I told him, I'm going to sell it. He said, no problem. Come back tomorrow. I'll have more out there. Great. So I throw it in the back of the truck and loop back through their neighborhood back to come out to Elliott on the other side now and turn left. But before I got up to the stop sign, I thought, my wife doesn't know I'm out yet, and I've got a lot more room in the truck. So let me run through Marketplace here real quick. So I pulled into a duplex parking lot and sideways across a couple of parking spaces. I thought I was going to be there 2 minutes. I was going to fire off a couple messages on Marketplace and head on toward the house, if not, see if anybody replied back to me. But I pulled in there. I chewed tobacco, so I put a dip in, and I started scrolling Facebook, and I fell asleep. Right. I'm working 20 hours a day at this point for 6 or 8 months, man. I couldn't sit down anywhere without falling asleep. So I woke up to a knock on the window. And it was a Pryor police officer, Officer Kenny Bennett, asking me what I was doing there and was I intoxicated. And there's been a lot of questions about some of the answers I gave in the first 10, 15, 30 seconds. And I mean, trying to watch that from somebody else's perspective, I can see how Officer Bennett might have thought something a little weird was going on, but at the same time, you've just woken somebody up, right? He doesn't know if I've had a medical emergency. He never asks if I'm diabetic, have seizures, narcolepsy, nothing, no medical questions at all. He did ask if I'd taken any medication, which I hadn't. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Maybe a year before this, you might have been able to catch me with a drink or two here and there, but not at that point, man. I was focused. I was locked in on the business. I couldn't afford to drink. I was tired. Where I remember I started waking up is when he said, what are you doing in Pryor? And that's when I kind of I'm back home now. And no. And you can clearly see that's when my answers start to become coherent. And I've had a lot of interaction at this point of my life with the Pryor Police Department. And that is the reason for, as soon as I realized I was in Pryor, for some of the short and not combative, but certainly not cooperative answers that I give in this video. I did, I think, everything I was supposed to within the law. I gave my information. I answered more questions than I had to about where I was, why I was there, and everything. They still don't know why I was there, and through this, Officer Bennett keeps telling me I'm not allowed to be there. And this guy doesn't know if I'm there to apply for a lease with the apartments, if I already have, if I bought the whole complex, he doesn't know. But he keeps telling me I'm loitering, which I now know is not not a law in Oklahoma or even Pryor, Oklahoma, and begins arguing that I'm parked in the road and that I'm on private property I'm not allowed to be on. And both can't be true, and neither are true. You know, he keeps telling me he's trying to investigate. You know, they got a call. He's trying to investigate, and I was getting irritated because it should have been a non-issue, right? You know, he could have told me to leave. You know, you're a little close to the road. Why don't you pull up a little bit, right? Once I told him, hey, man, I'm tired, just pulled over, took a nap. But he didn't. He was escalating and he told me he's investigating because he got a call. And the comment I made to him that I don't think you can hear in the video, but had him tell me to get out of the car. He said, well, you know, I'm trying to investigate a crime here. And I said, well, investigate then. And that's, he said, well, why don't you step out of the vehicle? You know? So I did, and asked him if I could turn the truck off. You can see in the video, I'm like trying to reach in all weird with my left hand and turn the ignition. It wasn't working. So I get my hand, but I don't know, like my body posture and the whole thing. Like one of my friends said I looked like I was in a defensive posture, and I kind of was, but I've always been like, I'm trying to make sure they see my hands are open or reaching back in the vehicle. You know, you've seen way too many videos of people having bad things happen when they've got a kid's toy in their hand or their wallet and it looks like something else. But anyway, so I get out of the vehicle and he asked me if I have my ID on me. Now, at this point, I've been taken out of the vehicle because I'm taking a nap, and told him that. And so I decided I'm going to be a smart ass in that instant. When he asked me that, do you have ID on you? And so I answered him literally, no, because it was sitting on the dashboard of the truck I was just sitting in that he made me get out. You know, there's been a lot of comments on some of these videos about I didn't have a driver's license. I had a driver's license. It was valid, and it was in the truck, and it was in plain view of this officer the whole entire time until he got me out of the vehicle. So he didn't raise any concern about that. He asked me for my information because he already knew who I was. I gave him my name, spelled it for him, gave him my date of birth, social security number, address, everything he asked for. And I don't think I was even legally required to do that, but I wasn't trying to cause any problems or make this any worse than it was. I figured I'm leaving here with a parking ticket or something, you know?
Okay, Pryor, you might start master this way. This guy doesn't look like he's alert. He's got some kind of liquid coming out of his mouth all run down his shirt. How you doing? Not bad. You okay?
Yeah, you?
Not bad. So, what's going on? You sitting in your truck? Okay. You got anything to drink today? No? You got any kind of medication or anything?
Yeah, just kind of long drive ahead. Want to see you on the road?
Where are you coming from?
Other side of Oregon.
Okay, what are you doing here?
Pretty sure of this thing.
What are you doing in Pryor? What brings you here?
Well, stopping on the way.
Where are you headed? North? Okay. You know anybody in Pryor, or you just happen to... Well, I mean, you're kind of pulled off here in this parking lot a little bit weird. You're a little bit in the roadway. So somebody called in on you. Is there a crime?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, standing in the roadway.
Standing in the roadway?
That's what the technical term is for it. Or you can answer. Or medical. He's awake now. Talking to him. Yeah, so I get here and I mean you're drooling all over yourself. I started medical. I knocked on your window a couple of times.
Drooling all over myself?
Look at your shirt.
True,
okay. So I started medical because I come up here and whenever I got here, you were actively drooling on yourself. And I knocked on the window, I got no response. So I knocked again. I mean, so the crime in that is you're partially obstructing the roadway. You're pulled off here on private property. You have no business being here, so that's loitering.
Is this someone called you?
Somebody called me. I don't know who called me. Dispatch is the one that called me. Somebody called dispatch.
Property owner.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's private property and you have no
Well, you don't know.
business here. Well, I've asked you and you haven't told me, so, well, I'm investigating a possible crime.
Okay.
So if you're intoxicated, passed out behind the wheel, if you've taken something,
You're investigating if I'm intoxicated?
yeah. Like I said, you're partially obstructing the roadway. You're asleep in your vehicle, which is okay. I don't have a problem with that. If you're just taking a, if you want to play this, why don't you go ahead and step out of the vehicle for me? Yes, sir. Appreciate it. If you want to, it's up to you. You want to leave the door open or you want to shut it? No, it's up to you again. I don't care. Do you have identification on you?
No.
You do not. So what is your name and date of birth?
Andru, A-N-D-R-U, Martin, 9/18/1980. So
What's your date of birth one more time?
Road here.
What's your date of birth one more time?
9/18/1980. So this is the road here?
Yeah, I mean,
Or is this the road?
so the city maintains the roadway all the way to here, and then they have an easement over here, and then that's private property. So you're on private property. You have private property that you have no business being on, and then you're partially in the roadway.
Where's the easement begin?
Say it again.
The easement begin?
The easement begin?
Yeah.
I don't know where the easement
road
begins.
begins or ends?
I know where the road begins and ends.
where's
I don't
the
know where
road
the
begins
easement
and
begins and
Where's
ends.
the road begin and end here?
So, do you have a driver's license in any state?
Oh yeah.
What state do you have your driver's license in?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
Do you know where the road begins and ends here?
It's a really weird question.
It's a weird question. Not when I'm being ticketed for parking.
You haven't been ticketed for anything. I've tried to ask you a matter of simple questions so I can duck my investigation, and all you want to do is be difficult.
I don't want to be difficult.
I mean,
you're being difficult. I was minding my own business, and you're bothering me. I don't know how that's me being difficult.
We wouldn't have showed up here if we didn't have a call here, so on you.
Well, that's first of all, that's not true.
100%
And I
it
can,
is.
so I can call on you, and that doesn't mean that someone's going to come and investigate you.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
That's exactly how this works.
Well, I'd like him investigated because he
Okay.
told me that.
You're good. Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
I kind of crouched down at the back of the truck and looked both ways down the street. And I'm like, well, is this the road or is this the road? You know, because I can kind of see where I'm at, that I'm not in the road at all, right? You can make an argument, maybe I'm closer to the road than I should be, but I'm certainly not in the road. And this road is not like a thoroughfare, right? This is a dead end road that leads to like 4 houses past where I'm at and has an outlet through another neighborhood. That's how I got there. And I don't think I'd ever gotten there in 8 years of living here through that way. Like, I've never driven down this road in my life. I drive past it from the intersection, you can see in the video later on. But this is not somewhere that 100 cars a month drive down, you know. And so he starts bringing up the easement, and I'm parked in the well, you hear about easements, right? And I never knew what an easement was until we bought our house. There was an easement in my house before that in Washington State. Had nothing to do with anything ever in my whole life, right? It's part of my property. It's part of the road. It doesn't mean shit to anybody, okay? And so he brings this up, and I know that. He brings that up. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Well, where's the easement begin and end? Well, now he can't answer that question, but man, if you're going to bring up the easement as an issue, you better know where it starts or ends. Couldn't answer that one. And about that point, Officer Jessica Flood showed up, who I had a history with from about 2 years before that, where her and her friend or partner, whatever it is, another officer with Pryor, Officer Gann, arrested me for speaking on my front porch when they showed up to my neighbor's house at an apartment complex right before we bought the house. And I could hear the line of questioning they were giving to my neighbor. And all I did was I looked over there and I said, I didn't even yell. I just said loud enough for them to hear, close the door. Right? I told her, close the door. And she did. And so they were pissed and they came over and escalated with me at that point, handcuffed me because I wouldn't shut up, is what they said. Started walking me toward the car. But luckily, my wife was recording this, and she's good at running her mouth sometimes. And she talked those handcuffs right off of me by explaining the First Amendment to these people, and they had to confer with 3 or 4 other cops that were there and showing up, and decided they probably shouldn't do this.
We're trying to investigate a crime over here. No, you're not. I'm not obstructing. Yes, you are. You're yelling as we're trying to have a conversation.
It's a public sidewalk in an apartment complex.
This is a public sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk. So please be quiet while we're trying to investigate something.
No, thank
or
you.
I'm going to take you to jail.
No,
Yeah, I'm just telling you how this is about to work. Okay. You're going to go to jail.
This is the only warning you're getting. We are trying to investigate
I'm going to give
children.
you a warning.
And I
If
don't
you're
need your
going to
warning.
come here
behind your
and
back.
take me to
Put your
jail,
hands behind your
you're
back.
going to take me to
Put your
jail.
hands behind your back.
You're really taking me to jail
Yes.
for fucking sitting on a public or on my private property?
We can't work our investigation when a child is missing because you're
I'm not
intoxicated.
here
and
to
yelling
help
at us.
with
He's
your
not even
fucking-
intoxicated,
I'm
first of all.
intoxicated.
Really?
No, that's not mine. I already
Put your
explained
hand on
that
your
to
back, please, sir.
you. I'm not here to help with your investigation. I'm
I
not
don't
here.
need you to help. We need you
No
to leave it
obs-
alone.
Okay, you're going to regret this. You can't arrest him for no reason. He's not obstructing anything. We have watched. I was out here. Yes, I was. No, I went and got my phone to record.
Dipshit.
That's fine. We're trying to investigate.
I understand that, but he doesn't have to be quiet.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. Well, under what law? What?
Obstruction. Go look it up.
Yeah, you go look it up. It's called
Look it up.
It's called the Constitution.
Obstruction is a physical act.
Yeah, it is. And obstructed. It's called. You can say what the hell you want.
Take me to jail for this and fucking violate my rights.
Yep.
Anyway, so she walks up and I recognize her and I didn't say anything at that point. And she kind of comes in the middle of the easement discussion. And so I looked at her and asked her if she knows where the road begins and ends. And she just instant escalation, because she knows exactly who I am. We all know who each other are. And we're all pretending that we don't have this history. We're just having a valid discussion about easements and sleeping in cars and all this stuff. But she's, well, that's a weird question. I'm like, that's not a weird question. This guy's writing me a ticket. Oh, well, we're not giving you a ticket. Okay. He goes off to his car and we haven't fully gotten into this and it's not part of most of the videos that have been produced, but there's several minutes where he's in his vehicle and said he's going to run my information that he wrote down, but he doesn't. He pulls my name and information up on his computer, but he doesn't ever use the radio. He pulls his cell phone out and texts with somebody for a long time and then gets out of the vehicle and wants me to do a field sobriety test. So, he had asked me several times if I had been drinking or anything. And I was certain I had dispelled that. I'm out of the vehicle. I'm walking around, I'm having a coherent conversation. It may not be the answers they want, but it's coherent. I'm not slurring my speech. They never said anything about smelling like alcohol, pupils dilated, nothing, like no indication whatsoever, but they wanted me to do a field sobriety test. And, Officer Flood is standing like a parrot on the shoulder of Officer Bennett. Are you going to take the test? Are you going to take the test? I was like, or what? Take the test or what? What are my options here? And they're not answering. They just want to know are you refusing? No, I'm not refusing. I told him, I said, I'm not refusing shit. I just want to know if I do, what's the alternative? And she said something. I said, am I free to go? No, you're not free to go. Are you going to take the test? Well, if I'm not free to go, then no, I'm not taking the test. But I didn't say that. They didn't give me the opportunity even to refuse. They decided they were done having the conversation and they were going to arrest me. So they did. Bennett put me in handcuffs and walks me over to the car. And when he put me in the front seat for, seemed odd to me. But as I was getting in the car, I asked him, what are you even arresting me for? Obstruction was his answer. And I said, obstructing what? And he said, you wouldn't answer my questions. So at that point, okay, dude, like that's not a thing, all right? I've been illegally stopped, I've been escalated, and now I'm illegally arrested. I think pretty factually, on the body camera video alone.
All right, Mr. Martin. So, the condition that you were in when I got here, like I said, you were pulled off the road here asleep. Looks like, do you live at Meadow Trace Apartments?
Yeah.
You don't live there anymore? It's the address that shows on your driver's license.
Where do you live?
Nearby.
Nearby them.
The address.
Is that relevant question?
It is. I'm literally asking you because you're sleeping in your truck right here, and I don't know that you're going to be safe to drive anywhere. So yeah, it's absolutely
How would
relevant.
I not be safe? So am I safe to drive
what's
to
your
Meadow
address?
Trace, or am I
What's your
safe to
address?
drive to Portland, Oregon?
What's your address?
Is that, I don't know what that has to do with it.
It's going to be like this the whole time.
Yeah.
So you can continue to obstruct our
So
investigation.
here's the thing. I can leave you and let you.
Comply with your investigation.
You're not required to comply with our investigation?
No, I don't have to assist you.
I mean, you have to answer our questions if we're conducting an investigation. Otherwise, you're obstructing our investigation.
Really? Is that how the Fifth Amendment works? The
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment? First Amendment? Is
Do you
that
know
how
your
this one
amendments?
works? I don't think you do.
Okay, so I can put you through a couple of standard field sobriety tests and see if you're good to drive. And if you are, then we'll get out of here and we'll let you drive. Okay, and we won't ask you any more questions.
For sitting in a vehicle in private property.
Somebody calling in because they were concerned about you because you were partially on the roadway.
We're a lot closer to harassment on your part than we are.
We can go to the jail and we can do this in front of a judge.
I'm not.
And we can have that conversation there.
I mean,
If that's what you want to do.
That's absolutely fine.
I don't want to do that. If I wanted to do that, I would have driven to the
I don't want to do that either. If I wanted to do that,
driven to a parking space and taken it down. See the difference there?
I mean, if I wanted to arrest you, then whenever you're
activities illegal, driving to a parking space and taking a nap or driving to a courthouse and speaking to a judge.
There actually is a law against sleeping in public.
Really?
Yeah. It's
So
a
am I
city
in public
ordinance.
or am I on private property?
If you're at the park, like you just said,
I didn't say the park.
maybe.
I said a parking space.
okay. Still public
I'm not
public
on
access.
public
So,
property.
do you live in these apartments?
Do you?
Do you live in these apartments?
Do you?
No, I don't live in these
Okay.
apartments. Do you? I answered your question. You got to answer
Well,
mine?
You're giving me a ticket for being in the road.
Have I given you a ticket yet?
Investigating? No, because you can't for being in the roadway.
I can't?
That's what you told me. Well, I mean, you could, but
I'd give you a ticket for. I could pick for being in the roadway or loitering because you're on private property that you claim to have no business being at.
well, I'm sure that I could go in front of a judge and argue my case and be fairly successful rather quickly and easily by.
And that's fine. If you want to go and argue your case in court, if you want to go argue your case in court, that's fine. But I'm not going to argue it with you here on the side of the road.
Right.
Okay? So you can.
You're going to give me a ticket for being unsafe when I told you exactly what I did, which was.
He's going to conduct a couple
the
of
name of
tests,
safety,
field sobriety
right?
tests. Are you willing to comply
Are you
with
willing?
those
Are you
tests?
willing to comply with some field sobriety tests?
Well, what are my options there? To go to jail
Are
or do
you
what you tell me
willing to comply with the field sobriety test?
with
That's the
incarceration?
question.
Threatening you at all?
Nobody threatened you. Nobody
I am
said
here to do
anything
my
other
job.
than-
So I don't have to. I'm not free to go.
No, you are
No, you're not
free
free to go. We're still conducting our investigation. If you allow me to finish conducting my investigation, and you will.
So here's what I don't understand. I'm not refusing shit.
Okay.
Okay.
So you'll agree
Well, I
to take
don't-
the safe step?
What I don't understand is what indication that I'm intoxicated I've given at any point in this other than I drove when I sleep. Is that against the law?
It's uncommon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for somebody
Okay,
to be asleep behind the wheel of their vehicle,
How many police
not
officers are asleep?
legally parked in a parking space
So
on
you go
private property.
investigate them? So you do the same thing in the middle of the night?
Okay.
We do the same
I'm
thing
not-
24/7
we're not
if we
arguing
get
this.
a call.
Will you comply with the field sobriety test or not?
Or what? Oh, I
Yes
remember
or
you.
no?
What?
Yes,
I
yes or
remember
no?
You. Do you remember me, don't you?
No.
Yeah,
Yes or
I bet
no?
you do. Okay. Now I feel like this is harassment. Is there a supervisor available?
That's me. I'm the supervisor.
Where's your supervisor?
He is the supervisor.
I am the
of
supervisor.
We
the
had
shift.
this same conversation. Was that you? Were you there?
I don't believe so. I don't believe I've ever met you before.
I don't even know where I would have met you. It's yes or no? Yes or no?
See,
Yes or no?
You didn't understand what private property was when you were in an apartment complex. You thought that was public property. Do you remember that now?
Do you live in
I
this
say we
apartment
just-
complex?
No, he doesn't. I'm familiar. So I think we should just go to Mace County Jail.
I'm going to go to the county jail for...
Obstruction at this point.
All you want to do is sit and argue.
I'm not arguing.
He
I'm
was
asking-
intoxicated then.
No, I wasn't.
And that's what I feel like he's intoxicated now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be passed out behind the wheel of his vehicle.
I wasn't passed out. I was asleep. That's why I woke up when you knocked. I told you I drove to this parking space to do that. I'd like to speak to a supervisor.
He is
You
the
are speaking to a
supervisor.
I'd like to speak
supervisor.
to your supervisor.
They're all out right now.
That's weird. That happens every time I want to speak to a supervisor.
There's one supervisor
You asked for my
assigned.
supervisor and he's right here.
No,
There's one supervisor. There's one
You
supervisor
don't just
assigned
keep
per
it-
shift. Okay, that's me.
Okay. So then, if
At
you're
6
the
o'clock
one-
this
if
afternoon,
you're
there
the
will
one
be a
that's-
different
you're the one
supervisor
that's
here.
violating people's laws, then we're just all fucked.
I mean,
That's a
you don't.
conversation you can have with the judge.
You don't have a
if you-
constitutional right to speak to a supervisor anyway.
All right, but I
Okay.
have right under your department's policy.
No.
No.
No? Okay.
I'm trying to work with you here.
We've
Okay.
tried. We've tried to ask you. You don't have a ticket in your hand.
Okay, so am I free to
You
go?
no. You've
Okay,
been
you're
asked if
threatening
you will
me with
comply.
arrest for sitting in the car, taking a nap when I told you I'm taking a nap because I'm too tired to drive. I had a little bit further to go, and I was tired, so I'm going to nap.
And you won't even tell me how far that is to go.
What does the driver's manual to do when you become too tired to drive? It says you should keep on going. Pull over somewhere safe to sleep.
Somewhere safe to sleep. I mean, I don't think that that's.
Where is somewhere safe?
I mean, legally parked, we could argue that. Even though this isn't.
We've gone over this and over this and over this. You're not even in a parking spot at all.
I'm not in
You're not in a parking spot. We got called here because of you specifically, and this truck specifically.
I'm not in the road.
You are in the easement. Look, if you look at that sign right there,
Park in the easement. The easement goes all the way to the center line.
it's still
of those
city
locations.
property.
I'm done.
Turn around.
Turn around.
Yes, turn around.
Dude.
Turn around. We're done. We tried.
You tried what? You tried
To reason with you and you're unreasonable.
reason with me.
It's hard to reason with somebody who's intoxicated anyway, so that makes sense.
Even no indication of being intoxicated.
Well, we tried to give you the opportunity to show us that you're not intoxicated, and you just want to sit here and argue with us. Like I said, I'm not going to argue with you on the side of the road. We'll just.
You're making 0 sense.
Really, but I'm not. You can't tell me where the road begins and ends. But I'm not making
Is that
sense.
where we're back to? We're doing circles?
That's what you pulled me out of.
Hey, you have anything illegal on anything that's going to poke,
No,
stick, or
dude.
stab me? Anything that's going to be illegal? If it's considered contraband if you take it into a jail facility.
You can't.
I'm giving you the opportunity because once we get into the jail, they're going to search you, and it will be a felony charge.
Why, dude? I don't have anything. No.
Okay, that's your opportunity. So if there is something, then we find it in the jail, and it'll be a felony. So,
I just said I don't have it. This is fucking bullshit.
well, you're not wrong about that.
Do you have anything in the vehicle you want to take with you?
Fucking kidding me, dude? In the middle of fucking moving.
All right, come on.
Whoa, you're gonna push me out in front of the vehicle? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm scared now.
36 right.
Really what you're fucking doing? Because I couldn't fucking... Ah.
Have a seat right here. Be careful. Don't hit your knee on the computer mount. It hurts pretty bad.
God damn it, dude. This is fucking stupid, dude.
I don't disagree with you.
What's the charge?
Obstruction.
Obstruction of what?
Obstructing me in the performance of my duties.
What duty?
I'm trying to perform an investigation here, and you won't answer any of my
I
questions.
answered every question you asked me.
Okay.
What questions did I answer?
You didn't answer any of my questions. You just asked more questions and
No,
why
I
I
did
needed
not.
to know, and I
No,
tried to
I didn't.
explain
I
it to
answered
you.
all of your questions.
So we'll argue about it in court. That's fine.
We will.
Tow it and I'll inventory it. Ask
mean,
somebody here if it's free to stay. I mean, it's not in. It's partially in the
it's
city
partially in the so yeah.
I'll have Constantine meet you over there.
Okay.
So at that point, they booked me for DUI and obstruction, which in Oklahoma, especially in Pryor, I have learned here over the last few years, they add on obstruction if they don't appreciate something about you, because in Oklahoma, that means you cannot be released and bail won't be set until you've been in front of a judge. So if you get arrested late Thursday night and can't get on the roster or on the docket for Friday, you're going to sit there till Monday with no bail.
What day were you
I
arrested?
think it was Friday. And
Wow.
yeah, so several days later, fine. And I have no idea. They never let me use the phone. So I wasn't able to even call anybody. So when we get to the police station, he now reads me the Oklahoma implied consent laws, asking me to submit to a blood test.
Okay. You have been arrested, and you are requested to submit to a test or tests to determine the presence and or concentration of intoxicants in your body. The test will be a blood test. If a blood test is performed, it will be done by approved medical personnel under Oklahoma law. If you complete the state's test, you may have an additional test at your own expense. You are not entitled to consult with an attorney prior to making your decision to submit to the state's test.
And now in Oklahoma, as of sometime in 2022, I vaguely knew of this at the time, but I had been out of the truck driving stuff for a little while. And the Oklahoma implied consent law means that you still don't have to submit to a field sobriety test, but if an officer progresses beyond that and tries to force a blood test, I believe urine test or a breath test, and you refuse, it's an automatic revocation of your driver's license. And so I thought I knew that, but he starts reading me the law, and it explicitly says you can't even consult an attorney before making this decision. And so I asked for clarification a few times because I'm trying to process. I know I'm not going to do it, and I'm sitting there trying to process what I'm about to do right now. Okay, because what I'm about to do right now is forfeit my driver's license because of this officer's violating my rights and doing this illegally. Forfeiting my driver's license means forfeiting my CDL, my hazardous materials endorsement, my truck driving school that I also ran back then, which has now gone out of business, and a huge, huge impact on the store that I'm running and my family, because I have 7 children, and having 2 adults who can drive is a major factor. And so just in a 3 or 4 minute period there, I'm trying to process all this and how this is going to go. Is my wife going to understand why I did what I'm about to do right now? So I said I'm not going to do that.
You may refuse the state's test, but as a consequence, your driving privileges will be revoked or denied. If you are 21 years of age or older and the test is 0.08 or more alcohol concentration, your driving privileges will be revoked or denied. If you are age 21, if you're under age 21 and the test result is 0.02 or more alcohol concentration, your driving privileges will be revoked or denied. Will you take the state's test? It's going to be a blood test.
It's going to be what?
A blood test.
I don't understand. I can't talk to an attorney.
That's correct. This is the implied consent test
Yeah,
request.
I see what it says, but I don't understand. First of all, dude, this is a real... It's a dick move, first of all. I didn't do anything wrong. You know I'm not intoxicated. And
I don't know that you're not intoxicated. Okay. You have the option to submit to the state's test. I can read it to you again if you would like for more clarification. It's going to be a blood test.
It doesn't really clarify. I mean, what are...
This is the state law, and this is what I'm required to read you.
I understand.
Okay,
I
and
understand,
you have the right to say that you will or you will not. I'll read it again if you'd like to hear it again.
So, so my driving privileges are revoked if I refuse.
If you refuse. So
until when? I mean, that's what I'm just not understanding.
Until you go through the court process and they determine.
Damn it. This is bullshit, dude.
Well, you've been arrested. Okay.
Well, I don't believe.
I don't think that you're. I don't feel that you're drinking alcohol, but I think you're under the influence of something.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
thinking
down there fucking slamming heroin. It's halfway between my house and home, or my house and work.
some kind of drugs, pills, something.
Shit.
So
I'm under the influence of owning a business and working more often than I fucking sleep. Man, I'm trying to build a goddamn business here.
okay, you want me to read this test again?
No, I'm good. No,
Or
I won't take it.
you will not take the state's test. Okay. 36 Pryor. If you would log down at this time, it says has refused to take the state's test.
So they book me in, and once I get processed, I'm sitting there waiting to be taken in. And Officer Flood, she radios in while I'm sitting there about to, change my clothes, and tells them that she's searched the vehicle and not found anything in it. So they should probably do a cavity search on me. So they did. They had me fucking drop them, bend over, cough, the whole 9 yards in a room full of officers, thinking, I don't know what they thought I was going to produce, but it's just humiliating. I've never had a drug or alcohol related offense in my life. I've done a lot of stupid shit in my younger days and been arrested and not anything anywhere remotely leading to any of this, Anyway, they didn't find anything there either. Towed my truck, put me in the drunk tank. Inside that jail, it was freezing cold and no socks. I was in the drunk tank for like almost 3 days, I think. And my wife was out there. She didn't know what happened. Jake, the guy I left at the store, who's worked there like a week, told him I'd be back in 15, 20 minutes. I just never came back. My truck's not there. My phone pinged once at the place where I was parked and then never again. And my wife called the police. They had no idea where I was. Never saw it. I don't know. Give it some time. Maybe it'll pop up, I was a truck driver held a CDL up until the point this incident happened in 2007 to 2024. I was a DOT compliance director for a very large company with 14 locations in 3 states. And I developed training programs for commercial truck drivers. And we don't take field sobriety tests. It's not part of the program. I've advised hundreds of drivers. If you get to that point, we're done. We're not participating in evidence gathering, okay? Which is fully within my rights in Oklahoma. It's not a requirement. And I didn't refuse. I was asking for clarification what my alternatives were from these officers. I had a public defender who was a very good public defender, in my opinion. Not the route I would normally go, but because of finances and getting a business off the ground, man, that was the only option I had. And the first time I met with her, I'm old enough now that I can see when people are young, They're 25 looks like 15 to me now. I'm like, how old are you, And it was her first year, and I asked her, I said, what's your record? And she's, what do you mean? I don't have a record. I said, no, I mean like win-loss record. I'm competitive. Are you a winner? What's up? And she said, well, I haven't been to trial yet. I said, oh shit. So I told her, I said, well, good. We're going to get you your first win here because I'm not accepting any of it, because she had an offer and all that. I said, tell them don't even bother with that anymore. Tell them we're going to trial and start preparing. And, she advised me of all the potential outcomes. I said, yeah, I know, we're going to trial. That's the answer. If they even offer anything, don't look at it. Tell them we're going to trial. That's our offer. So the arrest was in July. We get all the way to March before we have a hearing of any significance. And it was a pretrial conference where the district attorney had spoken to my attorney like the day before in the morning and told her they were probably just going to drop the charges completely, because they've already changed it at that point to, they've dropped the DUI and converted it to APC, which is actual physical control of a vehicle while intoxicated. It's basically a DUI while you're not driving. It has all the same penalties and everything. So, and they dropped the obstruction. So it's just the APC charge. And so they told her the morning of the day before pretrial, they're probably just going to drop all this. then that afternoon, send her an email back that they're going to introduce this highway patrolman who wasn't there and try to have him certified as an expert witness who can say that he watched the body camera video and can determine that I was high on drugs or drunk on alcohol. And I find this out the next morning. I already was under the impression we were dropping it, so we get there and find that out. And, immediately I'm like, what? Is that possible? My attorney's like, no, it's not possible. It's not normal. Doesn't make any sense, So they set a hearing for that, to have this officer come in, and the state's going to try to certify him as an expert, and my attorney's going to try to not allow it. And that was set for March 31st. So on March 25th, I didn't know. I was at work at 11 o'clock at night. Me and my wife had come from our house with a load of stuff for the store to drop off. And she'd pick me up. We went home, got a load of stuff, brought it here, and we're going back home. So I'm out there unloading the truck, and here comes two sheriff's deputies flying down the road into the parking lot with a warrant for my arrest because the district attorneys filed an application to accelerate some probation I was on, I've been on for 5 years, and it's supposed to expire in January this year. So they waited from July all the way to March, the week before this hearing, to have me arrested and attempt to wipe away my probation, which I've done everything. I was completed with all my payments, fines, everything was done in the first 6 months. So I bail myself out again and go to that hearing on March 31st, 6 days later, and they decide to drop the charges. And so dismiss the APC, having cost me another day of work and, bail and confusion for my family and right in front of my business. I had customers driving by, it's 11 o'clock at night, but it's the only intersection in town. Not just a busy one, but the only one. I don't have direct evidence like a officer writing, let's retaliate against Andru Martin, but I've got a preponderance of evidence stacked a mile high that there's no other reason to do any of this stuff. Why? So they dismiss it on March 31st. And I'd been kind of preparing most of March for dismissal and trying to push the issue of how wrong this is of everything that's happened, man. We were in the middle of moving the store and everything when my license was suspended. They never notified me of a hearing or anything about my driver's license. Because in Oklahoma, see, your driver's license is from DPS, which is now Service Oklahoma. And they are not affiliated with the court at all. Which that's what they tell you, right? So I had called them trying to find out when I could get my driver's license back. I'd heard I could get a work permit or something, They had told me before it was dismissed, well, yeah, you come on down here and you just sign this form and we'll give you extend your license until you have an outcome from court. Well, I looked at the form and an admission of guilt. Well, I admit that I was driving intoxicated and da-da-da-da. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I wasn't, and I'm not signing that. You're going to send it right to the district attorney. Oh, no, we're not affiliated with them. I said, well, then how the hell did you get this information, right? Well, the officer sent it to us. Well, so you're affiliated with the police, but not the court. Oh, no, we're not affiliated with the police either. Like, well, hold on, what? How is this happening, They're I don't know, Gestapo, man. Dealing with them is crazy. They're not only in charge, they're in charge of whether they're in charge or not. They don't care. So my first move after it's dismissed was print out the judge's order that says dismissed in the interest of justice. And I thought, I'm going to take this down to DPS and get my license turned back on, right? They never took it. I still physically have it, We don't even need to take a picture or anything. Just check a box or something. Let's get this going. I was going to pay a fine. I was ready to go. And they were like, we can't do that. We got an affidavit from an officer that says that he arrested you for APC. That's what it takes. He arrested you for APC. That's why my license is suspended, because I was arrested, not because I was convicted, not because I pled guilty, not because there was unsurmountable amount of evidence. No, it's because an officer said he arrested me. And based on that affidavit, which now further scrutiny has rendered that affidavit invalid, the officer writes 3/4 of this affidavit, which is full of irrefutable lies, right? You watch the video of what he's retelling and they don't match. And then he inexplicably, toward the end of this, switches to third person, referring to himself not as Officer Officer Kenny Bennett, but as Officer Ethan Consign, and describing his actions as Officer Consign, and then goes back to Officer Bennett without any explanation of how that happened and no signature for Ethan Consign. So that affidavit is not valid, but it's still being upheld. We've passed the 1-year anniversary now of the arrest, and still no driver's license, no movement. So I've spoken with DPS in Service, Oklahoma several times. The most recent conversation was that I need to go to the court and ask the judge to submit an amended ruling stating not only that the charges have been dismissed in the interests of justice, which she wrote originally, they want no further fees or penalties intended added to that ruling. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I would think that in the interest of justice is pretty self-explanatory. So I filed a motion to amend that ruling, and like a month and a half ago, and I'm supposed to wait until the judge can give me a date for that. And so I call a couple of times a week, and they're not available to give me a date that I can be heard on why I am requesting that. They want me to do 2 years with an ignition interlock at my expense, a drug and alcohol evaluation, and then follow any recommendations, pay a like $2,000 fine and reinstatement fees, and just a laundry list of the penalties for conviction. And I've recorded conversations in person and over the phone with Service Oklahoma explaining this to me, that it's because the officer sent an affidavit. Like, they just don't understand how I'm not understanding that the officer sent them an affidavit. Man, it is infuriating. It's difficult. I've got numerous records requests into not only the city of Pryor and the Pryor Police Department, but DPS, Service Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma. Almost none of them are responded to. Yeah, so after the dismissal, I decided I'm going to send a legal demand, right? A demand for damages to the city and the police department for this unlawful arrest, and the damage, like documentable, provable damage caused to my life because of the revocation of my license and the arrest. And it wasn't out of line, right? I did a lot of research to try and find, first, what has it actually cost me that I can prove it cost me. Okay, so that was our baseline. And then the reputational damage and discount for the taxpayers. And I cut in half of what is standard request at that point, because I think it's bullshit that the people who are responsible for what they did have no culpability whatsoever. And that if and when those damages were refunded back to me, it's not going to be out of their pocket. It's going to be out of my pocket, my friends and neighbors' pocket. And just the whole situation is not good, right? It's not how I perceive things should be. But anyway, so I submit this letter on like April 4th, and then I started preparing to send some records requests surrounding the arrest and some other incidents before that and since that. In doing so, I found, in going through my email, a response I got to an unrelated incident from the city clerks. Had sent me the wrong records initially, but it was another code enforcement where they falsified the police report, and they backdated the report to match a witness statement that occurred almost a month after the initial contact. So I sent you that one. Its attachment is 3385. It says that Officer Frazier encountered me on March 9th. It says that Officer Humphrey then encountered me on March 25th. Both of those are in response to an attached witness statement dated a month later, April 4th. So either they've got a time machine down there, or they fabricated the date or got a witness statement out of a 95-year-old woman who lives next door to match their police report. And then they didn't generate the report until like 3 days after I submitted a records request for it, several months later, and then didn't give me the records request until 6 months later on accident related to something else. And then I requested the same information again, a couple months ago, which would be a year after. And now they told me none of those, they don't have any records for any of those incidents. So I find this, now I'm pissed, okay? I've already sent off the demand letter. It's like 2 or 3 days later I find this. I'm like, you mother. So I look up and I find out, like, coming coming up, it's like April 4th, I sent a letter, and like April 15th is a city council meeting. So I'm like, I've never done this in my life, right? I'm going to go to the city council meeting and I'm going to bring them an updated letter because now we're not doing any discounts. And looking into some of this stuff now, like the number's gone way up, right? Somebody needs to be fired over this falsified police report because they denied it in discovery for the incident, never gave it to me, and then gave it to me on accident after the trial was dismissed. So we're going to increase the number here, and we're going to get a little more forceful. I haven't mentioned this, but the city attorney, his name's Chase McBride. He was my attorney before this, during my divorce. He was my attorney for 3.5 years. And so most of the 74, I think, records requests that I've sent either to the city of Pryor or the Pryor Police Department were never responded to. And most of them were sent in April. And that was intentional. So I spent most of March writing and organizing records requests that I was going to send after the case was dismissed. And so I organized them strategically, in my opinion. I'm no lawyer, but I put a lot of time and effort, research into it. And I was sending them in waves, 2 or 3, 5 a day for several weeks through April. And that partly was so I could track easily responses, right? If I knew I sent them all in this time, then I knew when I should start looking for them. And almost none of them were responded to. None were responded to that related to any misconduct by the police or government. I had a couple in there that were unrelated for other stuff I had going on. Those, for the most part, I got what I needed quickly, like same day, next day, which just, in my opinion, displays how easily they could respond to the other ones. And so that was in April. Then we get all the way to June, and one of the local newspapers, an online publication, wrote a story in response to, you mentioned Audit the Audit. Their video got a lot of attention here locally, and the police chief deleted his Facebook page, or the city deleted the police department's Facebook page. And then it reopened under Chief Cantrell's campaign page. So I've sent all these records requests. The videos come out. It's a big deal locally, right? These are not huge towns we're talking about, like maximum 10,000 people. And I didn't say anything or comment on it. I think I made like one comment, just kind of tongue in cheek, I sent that day that the video came out a press release. First time in my life I've sent a press release, to the local news channels, like the local paper in Tulsa, who probably doesn't care because they're way bigger than our town. But that was a just in case, right? And I sent one to like I think maybe you and a couple other channels. I knew it done stuff. If I could find contact for somebody who's already involved, I sent it. I sent it to a buddy I have from high school that has a Spotify channel or podcast, and the local newspaper I knew of. And then I found there's another local newspaper that's online only. So I sent it to them too. I'd never heard of them. And at that point, I'd never read the local paper, I'm just not a newspaper guy. And it was basically, hey, this case has been dismissed. Here's what happened. Here's where I'm at right now. Factual. And so the one online newspaper here locally decides that they're going to run with all the information in the officer's affidavit, which isn't publicly available, and to publish a story basically trying to refute all the body camera video that has been posted and caused all this commotion, asserting that I was drunk, asserting that I wasn't allowed where I was, that I was trespassing, and that I was in the road, and basically trying to paint me as the bad guy, not as somebody who's had the case dismissed by the very state who was prosecuting it. And so I sent them another letter and I said, hey, correct that, right? This is not factual information. And I went line by line into the things that were most egregious and said, I want this retracted, corrected, and I want you to say as much on your website and on your Facebook page, because they posted this on their Facebook page, and then more people are getting on. My ex-wife and all these people I've never met, one of the council members' wives and one of the council members on there parroting some of the same falsehoods as if they're facts against me, defamatory statements about how I'm always causing trouble in town, and like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no facts, just that I'm causing problems. Like, no, I'm not. So they didn't. They posted a a edit that basically doubled down and added even more falsehood and posted that and sent me an email back, basically like real short of telling me to F off, So I filed suit on June 18th for defamation against that publication. 3 people who made defamatory statements on Facebook. So that was June 18th. Okay. June 19th, the next day I get to work and the Pryor Police Department begins responding to records requests from April. So I got like 15 responses. And I'm like, oh, isn't that a coincidence? And I had sent them one more records request. As soon as I filed suit, I filed a records request to the police department. And the city, one to each. I wanted them to send me all records of any city employee communicating with the author of that newspaper article. And that's when I started getting the responses to the previous records. Because of this, my ex-wife has filed custody stuff, right? Because we had a very animous divorce. So she's used this as an opportunity to make things more difficult for me. So that's ongoing. And at my request, we had a guardian ad litem assigned here a couple weeks ago. A guardian ad litem is the way I understand it, basically an attorney for the children. Like this is an independent counsel whose only focus is the best interest of the children. It's pretty standard in like custody where there's a dispute between the parents. And so this person's there to like independently advise the court. It's gotten dirty, dude, because like we started off down this road on my former attorney. In my divorce is the city attorney. Okay. So these records requests are coming on the 19th with denials, redactions, and comments that all of them are compiled. Anything they did give me compiled on a single USB that I can pick up for $5 at the police station, which is fine. But all of them end the email with any questions, see Attorney Chase McBride, my attorney and your attorney. And if I have any questions about what I think you should have given me, I ask him. That's called a conflict.
So the city attorney and your current attorney for your divorce are the same?
Well, he's not my attorney now. I mean, okay. He was through the whole thing.
Right, but he knows you. So it is a conflict of interest, right? He knows you very well.
Yeah, he was my attorney in that and some other issues we had. And, man, yeah, the dude knows a lot about me. I've paid him over $16,000 in attorney's fees from 2019 to 2022, right? And so I thought at the time, like I might be able to get something resolved a little easier here because of that relationship. And what turned out, it was the opposite, that relationship made it more difficult for me. So all of these records requests say to refer to him, okay? And then I get a response to the suit I filed against the newspaper who has retained Attorney Chase McBride to defend him in the defamation case. Now, he doesn't show up with a disclosure of his prior representation of me. He doesn't contact me to ask if I'm all right with that, right? Which is protocol. That's like their ethics, right? He's supposed to notify me that this other client is one of his clients. And, if I sign off on it, he'll go ahead and represent him. But if not, he'll step away and tell him to find somebody else. He didn't do that. He submitted a response to my suit and has continued responding. I've filed a motion with the court asking for him to be removed because one of the other people named in the suit is also my opponent in my custody case. And so now her attorney is coordinating with my former attorney in divorce while the divorce case has been reactivated. Now, if that's not a conflict, I don't know what is. And the court's continuing to allow it and not doing anything about it. I filed motions. They haven't heard them. They keep pushing them back and allowing these attorneys to continue to conflict. Her attorney and my former attorney copy each other on all correspondence, but not on any of the other named defendants. Clear evidence of coordination. And so I showed up back to the guardian ad litem. I showed up to meet with her, and she has all these police reports that she says my ex gave her. And I said, well, let me see those, right? And she didn't want to. And I told her I was going to take pictures of them. I said, because it's related to some records I've requested. I'm curious. I want to see what she's gotten. Now, I had submitted on April 8th a records request through the police records request website requesting all incidents in a certain date range of police responding to calls to my address. And I got a response back on June 19th. They sent me an email saying the records were available on that USB along with several others. Now, on August 5th, the guardian ad litem in my custody case brings me a stack of 10 police reports of the police responding to my address and a copy of a hand-filled out records request with my ex-wife's signature on it, where she asked for responses to my address. Same thing I asked for, same exact thing. And she got 10 reports, and they're all dated, printed. The print date on them is May 12th, 15 days before she asked for them. So I want to know why they were printed 15 days before she asked for them, because 15 days before she even asked for them was 39 days after I asked for them. So why are my records on a USB and hers are on paper when they already had the paper printed? Why did they give them to her on June 24th, 30 days after she asked for them, but gave them to me on a USB on June 19th? Like, none of it makes any sense. Why are they being these same exact records being given to two different people on two different timelines and in two different formats? And it's crazy to me that I'm like in this like conspiracy theory like box now, because I'm like, man, I just wanted my fucking driver's license back. I did not want any of this. I wasn't even going to pursue it until I wasn't able to get my driver's license back. I don't think I've ever been as persistent with anything as I have been on this, because like you said, man, how important that CDL is. That CDL has been my fallback plan for everything in my life for 25 years. If this doesn't work, I still got a CDL. If this doesn't work, I still got that license. You know, I could be to work tomorrow with a CDL. Tomorrow. It has not changed, you know, but now I don't have it, and I can't be at work tomorrow. And I'm in that position where not only do I not have the CDL, I don't have any license. So my store has to work, you know. I have to make this work. And it is. So we're doing okay. We're not doing as well as I'd like. And it's a direct result of all this other stuff. I mean, it's a huge, huge headache. I'm not big on asking for money, man. You could go to my website, go to our Facebook page, and if you have a need for tools, we've introduced our own tool brand, Biddy Bang's Tools. We've started off with abrasives. Just start by buying some of those. If you know a federal civil rights attorney in the Oklahoma area who's willing to take a contingency or payments, send them my way, because I cannot find anyone who's not already connected with these people to willing to take it. And my feeling is it's because of how closely related everybody is. Something that I kind of had started to figure out shortly before this in other situations, but is more clear now than ever, is that it does not matter which side you are on when you walk in the courthouse. Remember that all of those people in there are coworkers. It doesn't matter what side you're on or which one's yours. They're making deals based on you, me, and the other guy sitting over there, and you never know what you gave up to get that guy over there a better deal. And the more clear that becomes, the more clear it is they're also protecting each other to the death. I mean, they are not giving each other up on anything. There's not one person in this local courthouse who's seeing what's happening, and they all know. Not one person in there willing to say this is not right and standing up for it. So I need that person to come and put an end to it, because it's not right. The thing that bothers me the most about this is the effect on my children that it's had. And it all ties back just to the driver's license. It was unnecessary. And I had a very close relationship with my children, and we went and did stuff, and I took them to school and picked them up, and we would go and do things one-on-one one day, one-on-one another. And now I can't do that. And how long a year is in a little kid's mind has really played a part. It really affected them. And just my ability to pick them up from school or bring their lunchbox when they forgot it, which is like, we live 2 blocks from the school, but now I work in another town. So I I could lock the door and leave and go do it. I own the store, you know, and I would. That's the kind of dad I've always been, but now I can't. This is not the type of place in the world that has an Uber. I wish that one of them would stand up and do the right thing, because all it would take is one person. There's a lot of cowards involved in that, and if one person with the slightest bit of authority in this chain of events would say, hey, we need to do what's right here, it would be over immediately, but none of them do. So
in the end, the arrest was based primarily on his refusal to comply with the officer's requests, not any clear evidence of intoxication or criminal activity. Andru Martin was not driving and showed no signs of impairment. The officers had no evidence or reasonable suspicion to initiate a criminal investigation. The situation could have been resolved with a simple welfare check, but instead the officers escalated the interaction and arrested Mr. Martin based on a refusal to comply rather than any unlawful behavior. While the officers may have been acting within certain legal boundaries, the manner in which they conducted the encounter, particularly their refusal to allow Mr. Martin to leave and their threats of arrest for asserting his rights, raises significant concerns about abuse of power and overreach. This case represents a failure of police discretion and highlights the risks of unnecessary escalation in situations where no criminal activity is present. I want to thank Andru Martin for sharing his story with such honesty and courage. What happened to him is not just about one unlawful arrest. It's about the ongoing consequences of police misconduct and the damage it can cause long after a case is dismissed. If you believe, like I do, that Andru deserves a fair chance to rebuild his life, I encourage you to check out the links in the description below. There, you'll find contact information and resources on how you can help him fight to get his CDL license back and return to work. Your support can make a real difference.
From the audience, that's Mr. Martin. We remind everybody that the petitions are 5 minutes long. We ask that you be respectful of the time and understand that the council cannot respond back to you.
Good evening, my name is Andru Martin. I live at 1605 Willow Road here in Pryor. And first, I'm here to deliver a revised legal demand to the city of Pryor, the mayor, the clerk, and the council members. This document updates my original submitted demand from April 4th and includes new evidence of falsified police reports, retaliatory enforcement, and repeated civil rights violations. This is not a new complaint. It's a formal escalation that puts the city and its insurance provider on notice, and I strongly encourage this council to take it seriously. Also handed each of you a formal public request for disclosure, asking for a simple update before you go behind closed doors tonight to discuss the Fraternal Order of Police negotiations. I'm not asking for secrets, just a good faith summary of the people you represent. You're about to discuss union contracts, raises, off-duty vehicle policies, and another round of police and dispatcher hiring approvals. Meanwhile, this city has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into surveillance systems, facial recognition, license plate scanners, while quietly stockpiling bullets and body armor like it's preparing for a military engagement, not serving a civilian population. We've got one of the highest paid police forces in Oklahoma, yet they've been operating without a contract for months, receiving almost no scrutiny on pending hiring or spending hiring or conduct. Worse, I found no indication that this department requires, let alone provides, constitutional training, real de-escalation training, or even the basic reading of the rights they swear to uphold. I have evidence to back all of that up. They will show up for pay, they will show up for tactical training, but they will not show up to learn how to honor the Constitution. Now let's be honest about what's holding up these contracts, because no one's saying it. The union is stalling and the city's playing along. Why? What are they asking for that's so difficult to just say no? Pryor can't afford to keep negotiating with people who show up for armor and overtime, but skip training on the rights they swear to defend. So I'm here primarily to deliver that letter. I'm also speaking up for citizens And we don't need more officers with bigger guns. We need fewer excuses and more accountability. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to say to all the people who have taken the time to comment on a local Facebook page, share the story, call somebody locally, and just make yourself heard. You have no idea how much that has helped and how much it means to me and my family and how much impact you've already had. So just thank you for doing that for me and keep doing it for other people when you see a need. We need that kind of support.